With Kenny Pieper in Philadelphia at a great show, and his work just stands out above all the others. I just want to introduce Kenny, and he can explain all about his work and his career.
Well, I started out blowing glass at Penland School of Crafts back in I guess it was 1977. I was taking a lot of other classes at Penland, and Richard Ritter was getting ready to teach a concentration, which was an 8-week class, and it was the first session that the old studio was being used, so there was no equipment. He had 4 people sign up for the class, and 5, and he told Bill Brown, well, I don't like 2 of them, I don't want them in the class, so it left only 3 people in the class for an 8-week class. So I asked Richard if it'd be okay to sit in on the class. He said, sure, come on. So in the first 2 weeks, we built 2 annealing ovens, 2 day tank furnaces, 4 annealing ovens, 2 day tanks, moved up his color furnaces, and we started blowing glass. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do right away. So 35 years later, I'm still doing it, happy about it. I studied at Center for Creative Studies in Detroit for a few years, and also at California College of Arts and Crafts with Marvin Leposki and Fritz Dreisbach. And from there, I worked around many studios around in the Bay Area, and after 20 years, I moved back to North Carolina and ran the shop at Penland School of Crafts for 6.5 years before opening up my own shop there nearby. And the work that you see here in the booth, a lot of it is, most of my work is influenced by Italian techniques and tradition, and I really like being part of that tradition and using those techniques, but I try and do something a little more contemporary and hopefully something that has my own voice to it, is what most of my work is about. I make all my own colors, which is not something that a lot of glass blowers do, so it allows me to have a little bit different palette than a lot of people. All of my work is, to me, it's important to have good technique and to have a really good process, but I'm also looking to try and use that and do something a little bit new or a little bit different with that. A good case would be the goblet study that we have over here. Adam, if you could get that on the camera for a minute. And so these are obviously just utilitarian goblets, and so one of the ideas behind this piece is when you frame it and you put it on a wall, it kind of has a little bit different context, like maybe it's a piece of art. But it's obviously a very utilitarian object, so I like the idea that it kind of asks the question of whether it's art or it's craft, or is it even an important question.
And then you have some lighting as well.
Yeah, these started out, I built a house in North Carolina next to my studio about 3-4 years ago. We moved in, and we have a counter that separates the kitchen from the rest of the living area. So I made 3 of these pendants to hang over that, and we love it so much that I thought, well, maybe I could market these. So I came up with a few different shapes and brought them to the show here. This is one of my newer pieces here. I call this a teal splash, and it's kind of a takeoff of the old Veronese shape that's real famous from Italy back in the 1800s. You'll see it in a lot of paintings, and the traditional shape was only, I think, about 8 or 10 inches tall. It's just clear, has a little round ball in the middle for the stem. Just a very simple shape. And so this is kind of an offshoot of that. And it's a new technique that I just sort of developed that is similar to like a Marini technique. And the colors, the white that I make that is in here, these little dots of white, is a really stiff white. So everywhere there's a little piece of white that creates a thick spot. So as you move back and forth, it has a real optical quality.
It really does. Looks like water or rain running down.
Yeah, or like maybe it's faceted a little bit. And this is another case of the same thing. This very center part always really interested me. Here where it starts to pick up the pattern and moves into this very geometric pattern, almost like it was made out of a spirograph, if you remember those from the
60s and 70s.
Sure.
But this very center part really interests me a lot, so I decided to try and make a whole piece like that. And that's what this piece is here. So it was an idea of trying to take that little randomness and what I'm trying to do with that is to mix it up so much that there's really no pattern left in it.
Beautiful work.
So there's sort of a controlled randomness again in that piece.
Okay, Kenny, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Great talking to you again.
You too, Adam.